Behind the Mirror of Music with Dannii Cohen.
Hello and welcome to Behind the Mirror of Music. My name is Dannii Cohen. This week's guest is Rebecca Pitcher. Rebecca Pitcher is best known for performing the role of Christine Daaé in Andrew Lloyd Webber's The Phantom of the Opera, performing the role on Broadway, the Music Box Tour, and part of the Asian Tour. Next to her time on Phantom, Rebecca starred in An American in Paris, Carousel, Mary Poppins, Fun Home, She Loves Me, Into the Woods, The Sound of Music, and much more. Next month, she will star in a brand new production of The Light in the Piazza. I hope you will enjoy the show. Hello, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
I'm good too. What are you doing right now in your life and career?
Oh, right now, I'm actually getting ready to leave to go to Boston in 2 weeks to start rehearsals for The Light in the Piazza. I am playing Signora Naccarelli in that and then understudying Margaret. So I'm very excited about that. It's gonna be really fun. Um, I've seen the show, but I've never done it before, so I'm really excited about it. I don't know if you're familiar with The Light in the Piazza at all, but
Yes, I am.
it's a
It's a wonderful musical, one of the last really operatic style shows.
yes, definitely. Yeah, that's one of the reasons I'm really excited. I'm also Signora Naccarelli was originally played by a former Christine, and I want to say it's Patty Cohen, but I could be wrong with that name. I could be wrong. But so it's kind of a fun little side note there. So
It is. Well, I've noticed a lot of former Christines come into those roles. It's a beautiful transition over the years.
yes, yeah, it is. I mean, it's the show is very interesting in that, like you said, it's very operatic or classical in the music, and most of the women, except for Margaret, sing quite high, actually. Like there are some really high notes in there, so it's kind of fun. I get a really fun moment at the beginning of Act Two, so I'm very excited about that. It'll be
So
good. A couple
great.
high C's.
When is it?
But
When will it premiere?
I believe previews start May 8th, and then official opening is May 14th, and we run through June 15th. So it's a nice long month of
Yes.
shows. So yeah, yeah.
How did you fall in love with music and theater?
Oh, both of my parents are singers. They were both music teachers. My dad is a tenor and did a lot of solo work, and then went into teaching and taught choirs and high school music, and then he went into administration. But he also conducted a choir, a local choir, so I sang with them a lot. My mother was also a singer. She's a mezzo. Um, she did teach in school, but then she went more private and she was teaching private voice lessons. So I always was hearing I called them the singing girls coming for their voice lessons every Saturday and sometimes during the week as well. Um, but when my brother and I were small, they said, you guys both need to learn the piano and an instrument. So I started with the flute and then I switched to the oboe. So I played the oboe for many years. And my brother played French horn, but we both are now professional singers. He actually lives in Antwerp and moved there in 98 to do the Phantom of the Opera in Antwerp. So
That's so cool.
yeah, that's how I got into it. I mean, I didn't mean to. Neither of us planned to become singers. We just ended up going in that direction.
And both ending up in Phantom as well.
I know, yes. Never in the same company though, but we've worked with a lot of the same people. So, Michael Sean Lewis, I did Phantom with, and so did my brother. And then a handful of others. When I went to Singapore, there were a couple of people in that company that he did Phantom with in Germany. So, excuse me. He's done the show in Belgium, Germany. Let's see, where in Germany? Hamburg, and I think Oberhausen. I think those are the two places that he did Phantom in Germany. So he's been all over the place. I've been America and Singapore. So
That's such a wonderful history for both of you then.
yeah,
How
yeah.
did you become part of the Phantom cast?
How?
Yeah.
Well, so I went to grad school in Baltimore. I'm pointing to Baltimore because it's kind of that way, in Maryland. And then when I finished that, I did a young artist program in Pittsburgh, where I sang with the Pittsburgh Opera. And then I was kind of in the middle of not having anywhere to officially be and sort of deciding where I was going to go with my career. And I moved back home for a little while and I got an audition. I went to a voice lesson, and at my voice lesson, Kristen Blodgett, who is the music supervisor for almost all of the Phantom of the Operas, especially in the US, she called my voice teacher and said, "Do you have anybody who would be a really good Christine?" And he said, "Hold on." And he said, "Would you like to audition for the Phantom of the Opera?" And I was like, yes, I would, because I loved the show. Loved it, loved it, loved it, always have. And so he said, "Yes, I have somebody here right now." And she said, "Great, we have auditions in New York City in 2 weeks. So let's set her up with an audition." So I went in, I sang. Um, it was me, another Christine, a Phantom, and then like 3 dozen Megs, or a whole bunch of dancers. And I mean, I wasn't, I've done musical theater auditions, but they're very different from opera, very different. And so I was in a long dress and I wasn't necessarily ready to dance, but I had to. So I learned Masquerade, a little section of Masquerade in the hallway. And the choreographer, she's like, "Okay, you just work on that and I'll call you in a minute." And so a couple of the Megs helped me
Oh,
with it. And I went back in and did this little thing. And it was very cute because this was at the Broadway Dance Center, and it's different now, but this room had a double door, had double doors, and then there was glass. And when I finished, I looked over there and there were little Meg heads all looking, going. It was very cute. But after I did that and I read the scene from the dressing room, they asked me to come to the theater the next day. So I went to the Majestic and did a callback in the lower lobby, where we did basically all the same thing. And 2 weeks later, I was on the national tour understudying Christine. So I was in the right place at the right time, and I knew the right person, and someone made a call. So it just kind of worked out.
that's so fast.
Yeah, it was very fast. Yeah. Yeah, I was in the show. Let's see. I think I learned the princess track, who is the mirror bride, the one that pops out of the mirror. I learned that in about a week, maybe 2 weeks. And I was in, and then I had my Christine put in about 2 weeks after that. So they were very fast in putting
Yes.
me into the show. Yeah.
So you played Christine in many productions of Phantom.
Hmm.
Broadway and in Singapore.
Hmm. Yeah, I did a lot of back and forth from the tour to Broadway, the tour to Broadway. I kind of did this a little bit. Um, but yeah, and when I finished in, I think it was 2007 when I left the Broadway show, um, they were still doing the Asian tour and they needed somebody to be Christine for that last little sit down, which was Singapore. So Marnie Robb was doing it. I don't know if you're familiar with Marnie. She's actually on the tour now as Madame Giry. So we switched. So she came to New York and I went to Singapore. I think that's kind of how it happened. But yeah, we kind of went whoop like that, which was really fun. Yeah, it was fun.
What are the biggest difference between tour Broadway and the Singapore for you?
Well, tour and Broadway were relatively similar. There were just small things that were different. Um, and like, I mean, like barely tiny, tiny little things. Of course, like the Travelator Bridge is different because it's bigger on New York than it is on the tour. So that's a little bit different in the blocking. I was on the Music Box tour, so we didn't have any trapdoors. So there was no going down the steps to rooftop or climbing up or anything like that. And then the candelabras, they came across the stage like this instead of up through the floor. So there's a couple of little things. And in those ways, the blocking had to be slightly different. But going to Singapore, it was very different because that's more the West End production, West End, and then it came also from South Africa, I believe. So the choreography is a little bit different. Christine's entrance is different in the beginning for Hannibal. She does quite a bit more of the ballet with the girls. And then there were some little choreography things that were different that I had to like I was like, whoa. I remember the first day I went in and Patty, who was the dance supervisor, was like, okay, so you'll enter here and do this and this. And I went, she's like, just like normal. And I was like, no, not like normal. Hold on a second. I'm coming in at least like a page earlier than I normally would in the script. So hold on. It's like, okay, we go back and do that again. And she's like, oh, really? And then I got to do a little bit more of the little duet with Meg at that beginning part, which was really fun. So, but yeah, I learned when I was the understudy, I learned how to do all of Hannibal on point because I just thought it looked cooler, looked better. I don't know. So she's like, can you do this on point? And I said, yes, I think so. But yeah. There were some differences, but most of it was just little choreography things.
It must be strange when you used to one thing and then suddenly do another when it's so ingrained after so many years.
Yeah, because I did the Broadway and the tour for 10 years. So yeah, there were quite a lot of I had to rethink. I was like, oh, but they're like you said, they were just little things. And so I had to really focus on them. So I didn't forget. And then of course the accent. So in the US, well, when I was in it, we didn't do any sort of British accent or anything. It was just sort of like a higher, more proper, I guess, American accent. I don't know how to say it. And then, but there, I had to bring in a little bit of a British accent just because of everybody else.
Yes.
It would have been weird if I'd been like, hi, and not that I do that anyway, but like there was the one part in Managers 2 where Christine says, I can't, I'm sorry. One of my friends is like, I can't. And I'm like, oh, I can't. But I couldn't sound too British, but I couldn't sound too American. So I was just like going, ah. That was always very funny. They made fun of me for my accent. Oh, well.
Well, Christine doesn't have to sound similar to them because she's Swedish and they're all French anyway.
I know, exactly. It's like it doesn't really make any difference because she's, if you really thought about it,
Yeah.
it doesn't work. I think what we do here is like a mid-Atlantic accent, so it's just not very big on ours, and it's not country, and it's not American. You're just trying to sound kind of like the old movies, right? Like,
Yes.
oh yes, well, we'd love to have that happen. Yes, of course. Just
Sort of a Eliza Doolittle almost.
oh yeah, that would be funny. The rain in Spain.
How did you see Christine's character when you played her?
Oh, well, I got in trouble actually when I first started. I gave Christine a little bit too much guts, a little too much chutzpah. I had to pull it back, especially the final layer. I was just like, they're like, you're giving her a little bit too much power. And I said, okay, but she's got power, obviously,
Yes.
because she's fighting back and she's finally standing up on her own 2 feet. They're like, yeah, but don't yell at the Phantom. I was like, oh, all right, fine. So I had to pull back a little bit on that. But I mean, I love the character. I think she grows in a really beautiful way throughout the show. Going from, the ballet girl to and being timid to immediately standing up on the stage and singing the aria. And then, you know, she kind of goes through these little ebbs and flows of strength and and being terrified and um looking for help. But then at the end, she really stands on her own 2 feet. I think it starts at the moment when she pulls the cloak off his head and then pulls off the mask and the wig, and she just finally is like, you know what, I'm not going to take this anymore, and I'm not going to do it because they're telling me to do it. I'm going to do it because this is no way for a person to live. Either of them, her or him. I don't know. Could go on for days.
Did you get to read the book before the show?
Did I read it?
Yes.
Yes, yes. I actually read the book in high school. Yeah, I read it a long time before. So it's very interesting. I don't think a lot of people always read the book and see exactly all the intricacies that are left out of the Lloyd Webber version. And then if you look at, there are many other different versions of Phantom. If you look at the Yeston Coppet,
True.
you get a lot story of the Phantom. And there's, Christine is not in the ballet. She's works in the costume shop. It's very interesting, the different things that different people take from the book and put into a show. But yeah, I did. I never called him Eric though. It would always drive me nuts when people would be like, "Oh, Eric, we love you," and I'm like, "No, no, 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 can't call him Eric. We don't call him Eric in this production."
I heard one Christine tried it at some point, and there's this myth about Christine who said Eric at the end when she brought back the ring.
Really?
And she got in trouble for it, apparently.
I would think so. Yes, I would think. Listen, Raoul's, when they say to Christine, they say bravo, when she's doing Think of Me. And every time a new Raoul would come in, they'd be like, brava. And they'd be like, I don't know. I know it's the right tense, it's the correct way to say it, but you're going to say bravo because that is what's written in the script. It might be different now. They may have changed it since, because after the pandemic, I think they changed a lot of things from the original production. So they changed some stuff.
Interestingly, in the Dutch version, it was always brava, strangely enough.
Yeah, no, here, bravo, every time. It's really weird, and we'd all be just like, don't do it. Just say bravo, and I don't know why.
How did you see Christine's relationship with Phantom or Eric?
It's an interesting question. That's why when people said, "Oh, you and your brother should be the Phantom and Christine," and I'm like, no, 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 we shouldn't. We shouldn't be Raoul and Christine. We shouldn't be the Phantom and Christine. We shouldn't be. Nope, 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 nope. Because there's just a little bit of creepy in there.
Yeah.
I think that she I think when she says in the mausoleum scene, angel or father, friend or phantom. I think that explains it right there. She doesn't know. Is this an angel? Is this her father? A father figure? Is this a friend? Or is this a terrifying phantom? And what exactly does phantom mean? Right? So she is so completely conflicted as to what he is. Because she feels the love for him, but I don't think she feels this is my opinion. I know we have Phantom 2 Electric Boogaloo out there, but I don't think that there was ever a physical relationship between Christine and the Phantom. And again, that's me. I never ever played it in that way. Did I find the Phantoms mysterious and attractive and sensual in what they were doing? Absolutely. But I still don't think that that was something that was happening with her. I still think that it wasn't that kind of relationship. She loved him. She thought he was a wonderful and amazing music teacher. She was mesmerized by that. It was mysterious. But then at the end, she's just like, what is what is happening? And I do think that the kiss at the end is out of desperation, and she's trying to just save everything. She's just like, what can I do? And this is what I have to do. I have to give myself to him. And yeah, I don't know. Does that make any sense? Those are my thoughts.
It does, yes.
It's a conflict because I know that a lot of people will disagree with me and say, no, they had intimate relations in the boat on that night, and I just don't think so.
Certainly not on that night.
No. I don't think that would be something that he would have done. But those are my interpretations of the characters, right? So, and everybody, of course, is allowed to have their own. And obviously, since there was the second, Phantom, Love Never Dies, that leaves that open for interpretation as well. So.
Yeah, but I think the first night would be a bit off because even for the storyline, because that kiss is the first time he starts by her.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So, yes, very good point. Yes.
I mean, in the book as well, so.
Yeah. But I think that's what I'm saying, people don't think about those things. Because that final kiss, there is a reason. I mean, that's the first time they've touched in that way. So, yeah.
And the first time he's ever touched at all, so.
Yeah. Other than holding her hand, he does hold her hand in the journey to the lair.
Yeah.
But that's all very different. And then floating, falling, which is one of my favorite moments in the whole show.
It's a wonderful moment, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very beautiful.
Who are some of the phantoms you worked with?
Let's see. Who was the first? Brad Little was my very first Phantom. And he's also who I did the show with in Singapore. So he was my first and my last, which is very, very fun. I remember the first time I met him, he was in makeup and I was just being taken around to meet everybody. And then I met him like 3 days later. He came up and he's like rubbing my shoulders. I have no idea who he was because I'd only seen him in the face. And he's like, you don't know who I am? And I was like, I don't. He goes, I'm Brad. I'm the Phantom. And I was like, oh my gosh. So that was very funny. So Brad Little, I did the show in New York with Thomas James O'Leary, Hugh Panaro, Howard McGillan. These are just the principals. Ted Keegan is one of my very best friends. We did the show together a lot on the tour and in New York. Gary Maurer, who I was also a Raoul. He was the Raoul in New York with me first, and then I was on tour, and then he came out and was Phantom. John Cudia. And then we're starting to get into understudies there. So John Cudia, who else? Richard Todd Adams. He was a Raoul, but he did Phantom too. Tim Gleason. Yeah, I think that's most of them. Not counting all of the understudies that also went on.
Lovely names there. Do you have any stage memories with them or in general that stand out to you?
Oh, sure. Yes. Let's see. What's a good one? Well, Hugh Panaro is very silly. And so in the boat, in the final journey to the final lair, we would come around, and right before we would come out, he would do South Park voices to me from the cartoon South Park. We would do that occasionally in the boat. Oh, Ian John Borg, I did the show with quite a bit. He was an understudy, but I know he's done a lot in Europe. He one time threw me for the final layer so hard onto the stage that I landed flat on my face, just like this. And I turned around and I was like, really? Come on. I'm wearing a 30-pound dress and you're going to throw me that hard? Let's see. What's a story with Brad? Well, Brad, he has a hearing problem with one ear. So he has this really cool thing that he would wear with the show under the makeup so that he could hear really well. And it comes right to his mouth. So it's kind of like a tube, right? So that he could hear this through the ear that had the mask on it. And every once in a while during the kiss, I would go, hello. And I would talk to him through that. One time he spit, this is gross, but he spit directly into the back of my mouth while I was singing, we were both singing, but I was like, and it went right into my mouth, and we both looked at each other like, he was like, I'm so sorry. So what are you gonna do? One time I had to stop Howard McGillan from stepping into a trap door. We were doing Music of the Night, and it was the part where he starts to walk Christine back around to go past the portcullis. And I could see, because it was New York, so I could see that the trap doors weren't closed. And there was a trap that was open that was about that wide, and it was, pretty long. And, it was, no, I'm lying to you. It was that point, but it was during the Phantom of the Opera song. So I'm doing about that. And he's like, sing for me. And I'm going like this. And I'm trying to tell him to stop moving and to not go back any further. And I'm just doing this with my eyes. And he went, and he took a really big step. So he looked, he saw that it was still open. He would have stepped right into that hole. And I just was like, I've got to stop him from doing that. So it closed right after he stepped over it. But man, that was scary. I think about if I hadn't noticed that the floor was open because of all the fog or anything, he would have been very hurt. So that was one. Anything else? Got set on fire once, but that's not really a phantom. It's not anything that happened like with a phantom. I mean, they were there. But they set off the wrong flash pots during Masquerade. Instead of the big sparkle flash, the mausoleum fire went, and I was standing on top of one, so that was fun.
Oh, my goodness.
Had to get a new costume after that.
Yeah.
Yes. The tulle was all gone, and my wig had melted. Luckily, on the tour, the Christines had synthetic wigs instead of natural hair, just because of all of the traveling and all of the different places you're washing and cleaning and setting them using a real hair wig just didn't make a lot of sense for the tour. So if it had been a real hair wig, I'm not sure what would have happened. It probably would have just gone completely up in flames, but it just melted because it was synthetic. So that's good. But that happened, that was with Brad. Brad was the Phantom. We were in Pittsburgh.
Dangerous things at times, those shows.
Yes, yeah, yeah. I mean, it's like, that kind of stuff happens, unfortunately. Somebody different is doing the pyro and they set it up, but they are thinking too far ahead into the act instead of right at the beginning. And so, yeah, he felt awful. I would understand. Yeah, he felt really bad about that. But we're all okay. Everybody's okay.
Well, thank goodness for that, because
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, there were some pretty bad burns, but everybody was okay. So mine weren't too bad. It'll go in my book when I write my memoirs.
I think some of Phantom has to do it, because there's so much to tell.
Yeah. Yeah, there are so many stories. From the very beginning until it closed this time, and then of course reopening in London, and then there's going to be a new US tour going out. So many different stories, different people telling them the stories of the things that happened to people in the Vegas production, and it's just good stories and not good stories. I mean, it's not bad stuff. It's just like, oh, it's live theater. So many things can happen. Forgetting lyrics, or, coming out, being on the wrong side of the stage. I had a Madame Giry. She was supposed to be coming out to do "You Did Well, He Will Be Pleased," and she was on the wrong side of the stage. So she came all the way around. "You did well." We were just like, what? Okay. Gotta do what you gotta do. Whoops.
Did you get to work with Hal Prince?
I did. I didn't get to do too many rehearsals with him. But he did come to a couple of performances that I did. I was the alternate Christine for when it became the longest running show on Broadway. So we had rehearsals with him, but it was more Sandra Joseph that was doing those, but I was there, so that was kind of fun. And of course, I worked with Artie Mazzella, who was his assistant, and then working with Kristen and working with Dannii Barry, who was one of the original ballerinas, who was our dance supervisor for many years. So I got to work with, and Gillian Lynn, I got to work with Gillian Lynn a little bit. So I mean, not so much with Hal, but with all of the other people. But I'd have met him, and he was in my dressing room, and he said I was swell, and because that's what he always said to people. But yeah, it was pretty great to meet him.
I think about all those years and all those Phantoms productions around the world. It must be some sort of record, I think.
Yeah, I would think like the most versions or the most productions of a show, even running at the same time, if you think about
Yes.
that. Because at one time there would be the Broadway show, the first, second, and third national tours, and then the London production, and then probably some in other countries at the same time. So many productions running at the same time. That's got to be a record.
Yeah, I think so,
Look it up in
at the beginning of the 90s, we had those that you mentioned, and in the Netherlands, in Asia, in Germany, Vienna.
Yeah, all over the place.
Belgium.
Yeah. Yes. So many. Yeah, it touched a lot of people. I always, I've had friends who say, well, people say they've seen the Phantom of the Opera and they've seen opera and they haven't really seen opera. And it's like, well, no, I guess not. But there are operas within it, and then there are opera singers up there.
Yes.
And so I think that if someone feels they've seen an opera when they've seen the Phantom of the Opera, then let them think that. It doesn't matter. They've come to the theater and they've seen something different, something live in front of them. And if they've never even done that before, then that's a huge thing. So I always felt when people said, "Oh, it's my first opera," I'm like, well, good for you. Now you need to go to La Boheme and you need to go see the Magic Flute and you need to go see Traviata, go see something, a little bit more in that direction, but there's nothing wrong with calling it an opera. Excuse me.
I think it's a modern opera in a way, because
Mm.
it's written very operatically.
Yes, and it's got recitative, there's, it's telling the story through music, so absolutely.
I think it started a lot of people's love for musical theater, and still
Mm.
doing that because, well, the first production had its first opening in India this last week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I think that's where Marnie is right now with that
Yes.
tour. Yeah. It's amazing. I mean, it's such a wonderful show. Someone's like, how do people like it so much? I don't know. There's a kind of sexy guy in a mask, in a tuxedo, and he's going like this, and he appears all over the place, and that's kind of magical. There's gunshots, there's fire, there's spectacle, there's a giant staircase. It's really well done. It was very well thought out. And the way that they have a scene in the front and then a scene in the back. So like the dressing room scene with Christine and Meg, or Christine and Raoul. And then in the back are the ballet girls doing their thing with Madame Giry. I mean, that's very cinematic. It's just the way that it was done. It just, I don't know. I think it was for the time period that it was, the things that they did were pretty amazing. The Travelator Bridge and all of that, and just very cool. Good job.
I think that with people who grew up with Phantom and Lemise and well, Miss Saigon and Cats, and I think we need Salt and all those amazing stages, Sunset Boulevard, of course, too.
Mm.
But now now it's changing to more minimalist. It's more difficult for people who grew up with that to adjust to that, I think, as a theater lover.
Yeah. So I haven't seen the new Sunset Boulevard, but it is very, very minimalist up there. Yeah. Um, I don't know. I think I like a little bit more of the spectacle.
Same.
I love to see the dancing. Like I saw a little while back, I saw Death Becomes Her, and the dance numbers in that are spectacular. It was so much fun. And I saw The Great Gatsby, and also very fun and I mean, the sets were like opulent and beautiful, and the dancing and the costumes, everything was just really gorgeous. And I'm sure that Sunset Boulevard is amazing, and I should go see it. I probably will. I just haven't yet. But, and there's something to be said for the minimalist version of a show. But do I want to see her come down the grand staircase with a moo and yes. Yes, I do.
Interestingly, Sarah Brightman is touring Asia with a very big opulent version.
I know. Yes. Yeah, it's funny. I actually had an audition for this Broadway version, and I said, "You don't want me because I'm going to do more of a Sarah Brightman version. I'm not going to do a Nicole Scherzinger. I can't ever say her name. Sorry, Scherzinger. That's awful.
Yes.
Nicole's version. Sorry, I can't pronounce your name. I'm the worst person in the world. But I would never do it like her. I can't, and she's amazing. I would be more like the Sarah Brightman version. And there's nothing wrong with that. Both of them are very good.
Andrew had originally written the song for soprano anyway, because he wrote the song for Sarah first with Luke.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there you go.
But it was supposed to be for Little Mermaid, Sarah said, because it was going to do the Little Mermaid in the 90s, the original version, but Then he decided it wouldn't work for him because he had so far bigger plans with the song in the end.
There you go. Give somebody else the Little Mermaid and stick to what he had.
What were some of your other favorite roles after Phantom?
Well, I did Mary Poppins. I loved doing Mary Poppins. Of course, it's iconic and wonderful, and I had a lot of fun doing that. I did that at a theater in Ohio near where I'm from, and we did it 2 years in a row. So that was really fun. So we did it the first year, and then we did the second. It was the Christmas show 2 years in a row. So I really enjoyed that. She Loves Me, Amalia. I loved that one. Excuse me, I have this cough. 2 summers ago, I did Fun Home. I did the mother in Fun Home, which is an amazing show. I love that. I don't think I've ever done a show that I didn't enjoy the role. Even the goofy shows still had a lot of fun. I did do Into the Woods. I was Rapunzel and my brother was my prince. So that was weird. But they're only really on stage together twice, and one of the times I'm in a tower, so it doesn't matter. I don't really see him. So, but that was funny. We did that a long time ago. So, yeah, I think Mary Poppins, She Loves Me, Fun Home, and then of course this coming up, Piazza is going to be amazing, I'm sure.
Funny thing with Into the Woods is that some fans once wrote a version of Agony with Phantom and Raoul.
Oh yeah.
And lyrics changed, of course, but then Christine doing the ah.
Yeah, right. Oh my gosh.
You could actually see them do that.
You could do it.
Yeah.
Would be interesting.
Maybe it's a sort of forbidden Broadway thing once.
Yeah. I'm surprised nobody's thought of it. Yeah, definitely.
Do you still have a dream role?
Oh, well, they're different now, right? So Christine was definitely a role for me. I told my college roommates I was going to be Christine in the Phantom of the Opera, and they each came and saw me do it, and they were like, "You said you were going to, and you did." And so, Christine was really the big one. And then, as you switch to different times in your life, you have to switch them. So, Helen in Fun Home, that was one I really wanted to do. I would love to play, oh gosh, now in Parade,
Yes.
Louise? Why am I forgetting? But I'm a little bit too old now to play it. I mean, am I not? It depends on who's directing and where it is. But Lucille,
Yes.
Lucille, geez. And also I'm not Jewish, so I don't have that either. So, but that's such a beautiful, beautiful show and such a beautiful part. That would be one I would have loved to play. I did Mary Poppins, so that was pretty fun. I never thought that would be a dream role that I wanted to do, but I just loved it. But now I think, Margaret in The Light in the Piazza is a big one. So I get to understudy it this time, and I'm understudying Emily Skinner, which is fantastic. So that's really fun. And A Little Night Music, Desiree. Love to do it.
Also
We'll see.
wonderful.
We'll see. I actually did that a couple years ago. I was Mrs. Nordstrom, and Emily Skinner was Desiree. So we're a little coming back together. I always wanted to do Glinda, but too tall. They told me I was too tall for the bubble.
Oh.
I wanted to play Clara in Piazza. But that didn't happen either. I don't look American enough, I think is what they said. Isn't that funny? I don't look American enough. Whatever that means. I don't think they can say that anymore. You get it. You just have to hire who's right for the part.
Yes.
But yeah, there are a lot of roles out there. I'm sure that more will pop up.
Well, then talk about the Little Nightmares, because what also about Follies?
Oh, right. Yeah, Follies.
I mean, Too Many Mornings is also a gorgeous song to sing.
Hmm. There's a lot of roles in that are
Yeah.
the opera singer, the retired opera singer, and then of course, the two leads, and that's a really fun show. I saw that the last version that was on Broadway, with Bernadette Peters and oh gosh, Linda Lavin was in that. Oh, it was very good. It was so good. My ex-husband was the sound engineer for it, so I got to go to it several times. I went to three different opening nights in the Kennedy Center, in LA, and then in New York. So I got to see it several times. Beautiful show.
It is. Well, the good thing that there's so many beautiful shows. It is in the end hard to choose what you wish to play.
I know, I know. And then also, throughout your life, it changes what you are drawn to. So yeah, things that I was drawn to when I was younger, I still love, but I can't do now. So I'm moving into other things. Um, moving into the moms. I'm a mom.
It's also strange as if you can't be anything else but a mom at some point in your life.
That's right. Yes. A friend of mine calls herself an old Janu instead of an ingenue. She's an old Janu.
Is there anything in this interview that you haven't been asked that you would love to talk about?
Oh, I don't know. No, I don't think so. I think you've covered a lot. A lot of the things that I think are interesting in my Phantom career. Um, yeah, no. I told you about the fire. That's always the biggest one. That's what everybody wants to know about. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's just a wonderful show, and I remember as a kid, in the late 80s when it came out, I had the cassette tapes. I had the highlights cassette, and then I had the whole show, the double cassette thing. And it was on repeat, constantly listening to it. It drove my brother absolutely nuts.
But it was useful for him.
Exactly. He
Yeah.
can't complain anymore because he played Piangi, Raoul, and the Phantom and the managers. So he's done like everything. So he cannot complain. So he knew the show before he got there.
I had a tape too, and I had it in my Walkman constantly. And then one day when I had it on the school, the tape ran.
Oh no.
And then I was completely upset. I went to the caretaker and he fixed it for me, but I was so upset about it.
Oh, yeah. That's upsetting. You're like, no. Got to get your pencil out and wind it back in.
And I spent the entire few hours waiting till he could bring it to me after the class to just think about the tape. Didn't hear anything else.
You're like, I'm not listening to anything. I don't want to know what's happening in maths. I don't want to know anything about any languages. No, just give me my cassette,
Yeah.
please. Life is over until it's back in my hands.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Oh, here's a funny story. Here's a funny story. I just thought of one because I looked at your mask that's there. So, I took the mask. This was Brad Little. This was Brad, and we were on tour. And I grabbed the mask, and he's like, da, 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 and like chasing me around, right? and I went to fall down, and you have to fall down and gently place the mask perfectly so that it's facing the audience and the light can pick it up. Well, I tripped and I flew, and the mask bounced off of the stage and into the pit and landed because there's a wire that goes around the back to hold it on their heads. The wire landed inside the strings of the upright bass.
Goodness.
And he's like playing, and he's got this mask sitting there. And so he said that he thought for 1 second of putting it up on the stage, and he decided not to. He thought he might get into really big trouble if he did that. And I'm not sure he would have been able to reach, actually,
No.
because the stage was quite deep with the candles underneath. And so I went to grab it, and I was like, uh-oh. And so that's when you have to turn to the Phantom and do this really amazing, like, I don't have the mask to give you. And now we have to run off stage, and you have to cover your face. Because at that point, the audience doesn't really get a good look at the face. So they want it still covered. Yeah. So anyway, that was funny. It bounced out of my hand, off of the stage, and into the strings of the upright bass.
It was hard to play for him that night.
Yeah. I don't know how he could still play, but it must have been far enough down that it wasn't disturbing the strings. So he had to pull it out. Oops.
That's so weird.
All kinds of weird little things like that happened. In 10 years, there are a lot of stories. So yeah.
Do you have a message for theater fans?
A message for theater fans?
Yes.
Keep going. Keep going to see theater, no matter what, no matter where. Just go. Support the arts, support the actors, support the musicians, and get yourself out of the everyday stuff and go see something. Even if you hate it, just go anyway. I remember being on tour at 9/11 when that happened. And I was on tour and we had a bomb threat like 2 days before that happened. And so things were a little bit weird where we were, and then that happened, and it happened to be a day that we didn't have a show, but we came back the next day and everybody was like, how are you doing shows? How are you doing this? This is so awful. And we just all kind of said, it is awful. It's awful. But if we don't continue doing what we do, then everybody's going to be stuck staring at their televisions. And people need to come outside, and they need to celebrate life, and they need to, it was such a hard time, but we just kept doing shows. We just kept going because we needed it and the world needed it. So keep going to theater. It's important, no matter what's going on in your life. If you can get there, get there.
That's a great message, and so true. I mean, that's why a lot of actors even decided to do online things during the pandemic, just to keep theater and the spirit alive.
Yeah.
Important.
Yeah. It's a community, and we have to keep it together. And it's not just for us, it's for everybody. That's why it's there. Yeah. So it's even doing these things, a lot more podcasts, a lot more video interviews and things like this. So people across oceans can meet each other and communicate and become friends. And, I can teach voice lessons to people in China or in London or anywhere. We can, with what we have, the technology that we have now these days, we can do all of these wonderful things. So if something good came out of the pandemic, it's that.
Yes, that's true.
It's communicating and reaching other people, reaching more people.
Yes, especially in changing times as they are now again. Because so among the world and politics is all you need theater to either educate or help you move past it and get happy for a few minutes.
Yes, exactly. I have to stop watching the news and I need to go.
I started doing that. It's true, because if you read the news every day, you start, doom scrolling in the end.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Can't let yourself do that.
So it's just, you got to get out of either the theater or at least something that makes you happy.
Yeah. Get outside. Go do something. Go see a movie. Even watch one on your television. That's fine too. Find something.
Streaming theater service, because that helps theater as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you so much for this lovely interview. It was so great talking to you, and you have such wonderful stories. And
Oh, thanks.
yes,
A lot of crazy stories, but I'm sure you've heard plenty of crazy stories in all of your interviews that you've done.
the one I hear the most, and it surprises me is about phantoms who say they tore their pants.
Oh, yes. Absolutely. Yes, because they're tight.
Very tight.
They make their pants quite tight. Yes. Yes. There's a lot of pants tearing. Brad did that one time. He was like covering me up after I passed out when the Mirror Bride came out, and he's like, help me make, and he's ripping the stitches one at a time. And I was trying not to laugh because I was passed out. I was laughing. I was a little bit laughing. Yeah. He always had like some kind of like running tight or something underneath his pants in case they ripped, so that you wouldn't just see skin. But yeah, they always rip their pants.
I think I'll be hearing it a lot more in future then.
Yeah. I think it's a common theme. I don't know what they're doing.
Should have put something in it at the end of what kept happening.
Maybe they do it on purpose. Maybe the wardrobe people do it on purpose.
It could be. Big mystery.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, thank you again, and good luck for the Piazza and everything that's happening.
Yes, I will be posting pictures and videos, I'm sure, about it on my Instagram and maybe Facebook if I'm crazy enough to do Facebook. But thank you so much. It's a wonderful opportunity to get to meet you. Finally, we got this all scheduled.
That was worth the wait, because it was really lovely, and I'm so glad to have spoken to you.
Me too.
Have a wonderful day.
Thank you. You too. Good night. I guess it's nighttime there. So
yes, well, almost.
Almost nighttime.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank
Take care.
you. Bye.
Behind the Mirror of Music with Dannii Cohen.